Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, following on from my thoughts about where Sunak went wrong in terms of failing to stamp his authority on the Conservative Party, I'd like to expand on it by taking a look at what it is that Conservatives respect in a leader and how it may be that many of them don't even know themselves. For example, why do they revere Margaret Thatcher so much? Not for the reasons that they may suppose. And this failure to understand is ultimately where Sunak has failed himself. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So ask Tories to talk about great leaders in the past. Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher will definitely be mentioned, almost certainly as the top two. But why? Let's look at Thatcher, because they often go particularly misty-eyed over her, possibly because many of them actually met her. Why do Tories think Thatcher was so great? Not just good, but greater than most of the rest. Well, she did so well with the economy, you see. Did she? She presided over 2 recessions. She got away with the first one because of the Falklands and Foot's longest suicide note in history. Political suicide note, that is, just to be clear. She did not get away with the second. It was believed that she would have lost the following election and so was given the chop and replaced by Major. Well, the economy, very strong growth, you know. It's like, well, you know, the economy grew, but it grew under previous governments as well, Labour and Conservative. Why was Thatcher considered so superior to previous Tory leaders, you know, Churchill aside? It's because it doesn't really have that much to do with the results of her government. You know, they were no more remarkable than several of her predecessors. It's really very simple. It's because she was a bastard, really. Many on the right wing respect what they call strong leadership, by which they mean heavily authoritarian leadership. They look up to world leaders like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, even though they have to pretend they don't like Vlad for now. Margaret Thatcher developed a fearsome reputation. The implication was that if you so much as stepped a foot out of line, she would kick you in the balls and beat you mercilessly with her handbag, which no doubt had a brick concealed within. The Iron Lady, they called her. That's what they respect. Not leadership by consensus, not appeasement, but telling people exactly how things are going to be, and woe betide anyone who even hints at dissension. And I could say that this attitude may have its roots in the harsh environment of the privately educated toff who is raised by the stern nanny and severe housemaster, with little in the way of affection from their parents, who are far too busy with making pots of money. Now, this may be an exaggeration, but it's certainly the case that Conservatives are particularly drawn to leaders who are essentially single-minded bastards. But I think a lot of it is subconscious. I don't think they realise this. Liz Truss, for example, tried to invoke the spirit of Thatcher by doing what? Cosplay. But Thatcher's appeal was not the photo opportunities, that was just for the public. Sunak tried to claim that economically he was a Thatcherite. Okay, stronger ground, but again, it's not really her economics that earned that respect. But nearer the mark, I'm sure they do laud her for essentially privatising almost every public service. But no, it's really because she was brutal. You know, when I said yesterday that Sunak should have stamped his authority on the party by isolating rebels, removing the whip from any that dared stick their head above the parapet as a warning to others, I wasn't saying that because that's how politics is done, or even specifically Westminster politics. But that works in the Tory party. In 2019, Boris Johnson removed the whip, not from 1 or 2. There was nothing subtle about it. He removed the whip from about 20 Tory MPs. Bear in mind, he already technically had a minority government. It just about had the numbers to supply confidence votes. But that completely destroyed it. Completely destroyed the numbers he needed to sustain his own government. But nobody in his party even batted an eyelid. None of them even thought, hey, oh, this is a bit precarious now. Johnson was seen as that brutal, strong leader, not sparing the rod. Well, Sunak only had to do this with 2 or 3, and he had a majority large enough to still keep getting his legislation passed. I just don't think he ever realised it. Modern Tory MPs, they all know they revere Thatcher, They don't always know why. I mean, consider even if we look at like Winston Churchill, he won the war and stuff like that. Yeah, but he was also a bastard, wasn't he, in terms of his leadership? Very single-minded, didn't really care about others, wasn't interested in people's feelings. There's a common thread here. You know, you ask them about Thatcher, they think it's because she got things done. They think it's because of her achievements, even though if you actually look at her achievements in the form of quantitative data compared to previous and subsequent governments, there's nothing remarkable in there. There's nothing that goes, oh yeah, that's really good. It's because you can hardly say that so-and-so was a great leader because she would feed you to the dogs if you so much as breathed without her permission. And I think this is why political novices like Sunak just don't get it. When Sunak became Prime Minister a year ago, here was the situation, very much to his advantage. One, the party had now selected its third leader in the same parliament. Would have been madness to trigger another leadership contest if it didn't work out. That was a huge advantage to him. It meant that he could do almost whatever he liked and he was safe. There probably were boundaries, there probably still are, but not visible without some very powerful binoculars. Second, he had a large majority, large enough for him to remove the whip from 20 MPs and still be comfortable. Not that it would need to be anywhere near that many. Third, he inherited a polling disaster. Now, it seems strange to consider that an advantage, but it was. It meant that the party had suddenly got way fewer safe seats. Now, when your seat is suddenly marginal and you know you're going to have a fight to win it at the next election, you need the party leadership to succeed for you to have any chance of retaining that seat. MPs in very safe seats, they can be a bit blasé. Braverman, for example, doesn't mind working to make the party as unelectable as possible because her own seat's not really under threat. Although Sunak still has a way of keeping her in line. But the MPs in now marginal seats, they can be kept in line with warnings that party unity is essential to give voters confidence. And MPs in safe seats can be kept in line with threats to remove the whip. Sunak had a very strong hand. He just failed to understand the nature of his own party and what motivates his MPs. Instead of taking the path of the iron fist, he took the path of appeasement. Weak at any time, but to a group of people who revere authoritarian rule, especially pathetic. It's why the knives are out for him now. Braverman's made her play, so has Boris Johnson. They feel they can openly defy him now. They've given him his chance. His weakness has given them leave to openly defy him. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.